Good evening to all of you. So today, as yesterday I have told, or rather promised, that today's class I will be using to introduce you people into the answer writing. So I will present my way or my view on how to write a good answer, or moreover how to address the questions in your exam. Say in exam there will be questions. First of all, you need to know what are the types of questions in terms of whether short questions or long questions, or the pattern in which the questions are arranged. And that you can know by going through the previous year questions. That you should be doing, because not only that will help you understand the type of question that is being asked, but how those are being asked. So here that is a separate part, because that part exclusively all of you has to do by going through the previous year question papers, because through that all of you will be able to understand how exactly the questions are being asked, what is the arrangement of the questions, how it is asked in two sections, A or B, what are the number of short questions being asked, what are the slightly longer questions are being asked. So all this you can understand by going through the previous year questions. Today my job would be that how to actually address these questions, what should be the way through which you should be writing your answers, what are the essential elements that you have to keep in mind. Those are few things that I would be highlighting today, or introducing you people into today into simply I will be introducing you people today into the answer writing. See, as far as the questions are concerned, the questions could be factual questions as well as analytical questions, but moreover we get analytical questions, very less of factual questions we in fact get in our question paper. So that means you have to be ready with your understanding and clarity over various concepts, various topics, various theories, because predominantly the questions that is going to be asked are going to be analytical. And if you take into account the nature of questions that is being asked more recently, we'll go by some of the recent trend. Recently, the questions in public administration are comparatively simpler in nature, because many direct questions are being asked. Interestingly, in couple of years preceding this year, there has been couple of questions which has been repeat questions. That means those questions were asked earlier and again those has been asked. And also incidentally there has been many questions in terms of their theme and essence. And they will also be considered as repeat, because those questions has already been asked, may not be in same line, same language, but in terms of the theme or essence, similar questions has been asked. So the questions comparatively in recent time has been simple questions. Some of the questions have been repeated in verbatim, same line, same sentence, and many questions have been asked, those were similar in theme to that of the previous. So at the same time, in recent period, the marks that is that in public administration has been very encouraging. Good marks are there, simple questions have been there, good marks are there. So you should be very ready for writing a good answer, because we do have very enviable marks in the recent times. Now, while writing your answers, I would say keep in mind 4 important elements. Your answer should actually include these 4 important elements. One is the clarity. This is one. The second is the content. The third is coherence. And fourth is complete. These are the 4 important elements of a good answer writing. That's what I will believe. When you're writing your answer, you should keep in mind all these 4 aspects. Let me elaborate on these 4 important aspects that should be a part of your answer writing. But before that, before I elaborate on each of these important aspects, another important aspect, another important preparation that you should have in advance to the answer writing, because while writing your answer, these are the 4 things that should be in your mind. In fact, these elements are critical to your writing of good answer. But before you go for writing answers in your exam hall, I would rather say one important aspect has to be there in advance, that you have to work it out. Because see, many of you or many of the students, they remain confused with regard to the time management, word limit and all this. So here some of the students, they ask, if there is a 10 marker, what is the number of words we can write? If there is a 20 marker, what is the number of words we can write? If there is a 25 marker, what is the number of words we can write? See, here, don't get worried about the number of words that you have to write. If in the question paper, the word limit is very much given, then in that case, you should write within the word limit, first of all. Because wherever the word limit is mentioned, it is almost all the time it is mentioned not more than, let's say, 100 words, or not more than 200 words, or not more than 150 words, whatever. If at all a word limit is there, then you have to stick to the word limit, and as it writes, not more than. So you should not write more than those number of words, and at the same time it should not be too less than that number of words. If it says, okay, not more than 250 words, you should not be writing, let's say, 150 words or 120 words or 130 words seemingly, because it is also not more than 250 words. So no, it has to be approximate, close to that particular number. It might be above 200, it might be 220, 230, 235 or 250. Don't go below 215 or something like that. It should be around that particular word. At the same time, word limit, it should not exceed the word limit at any cost. But there will be a number of questions in which the word limit will not be mentioned as such. There's a possibility that word limits may not be mentioned. So in that particular context, what should be your approach? How much you should write? That becomes a major concern. Now see, I would say that it will vary from individual to individual. How much to write, what number of words to spare, that will vary from individual to individual. For why I'm saying this? Because see, word limit not being there, let's say you find a question where word limit is not there, you should prepare accordingly. Word limit in every question there, fine, no problem. But again, word limit, if it is not there, in advance you should be prepared for that, based on 2 static factors. Because see, there are two factors, two condition that remains static, unchanging. One, the marks that is allotted to a particular paper in advance. If the UPSC has said 250 words for one paper, it is static, it's not going to change. And 3 hours for the exam, that is static, it's not going to change. So 3 hours means 180 minutes available for writing, but in reality 180 words are not available, 180 minutes are not available, because the examiner is going to, the observers are going to give you the question paper, and at the same time the invigilators are going to get your signature, and at the same time, let's say they are going to, and you while after getting your question paper, you are going to read the questions. And if it is roughly around 20 to 25 questions, because all the questions you have to read, if not, you are going to write all the questions. Less number of questions you are going to write, but all the questions you will read, and you will read with attention, and a few questions you are going to read more than once. So if there is, let's say, 25 odd questions that is there in the question paper, if at all you are consuming, let's say 30 seconds, or in some cases slightly more, almost 15 minutes are gone in simply reading the question. So we can simply say of the 180 minutes that is available for writing, roughly around 20 minutes that is not available actually for you to write the answers. 160 around minutes are available. You cut also 10 minutes from this, because while writing an answer or ending an answer, writing another answer, you think for a while, slightly improvise. So few seconds are gone there. Combinedly another 5 minutes might be lost. So approximately 155 minutes are available for you to write for 250 marks. So you just roughly divide that how much minute is available for a single mark. So thereby for a 5 marker, 7 marker, 10 marker, 15 marker, 20 marker, accordingly you develop, this is the amount of minute I am going to spare. Then practice writing. You just try to find out in an exam condition that in, let's say, 5 minutes, let's say for the 10 marker or 12 marker, you have to spare 5 to 6 minutes. So in the 5 to 6 minutes, what is the number of words you can write in the exam condition, and what is the space it is taking? So approximately you develop your own calculation without being very conscious. You are not very conscious, but you develop your rough calculation. If I write, let's say 3/4 or 2/4, or let's say 1 page or 1.5 page, this is the number of minutes I am consuming, and within this minutes, this is the number of words I am writing. So that is what you should be practicing in advance, developing your own calculation much in advance to the exam. And while being in exam, you should not be worried if it is a 10 marker, 12 marker, 15 marker, and even if word limits are not there, as per your speed, you have already calculated in advance how much words you have to write, and in order to write that number of words in an exam condition, what is the space you are consuming, you simply have that in mind and start writing. This is one important thing I would say, that you should be working out in advance, and you should be very sincerely working out this in advance, because at any cost you should leave your exam hall after completing the paper. You should not be leaving even a single question. You should complete, you should write all the answers. So this is important, and based on this, as I am saying, that as far as your questions are concerned, when you answer, they should include these 4 qualities: clarity, contained, coherence, complete. Now one by one, let me analyze and help you understand this. Then after that, I will also discuss few other things. Now, if you refer to clarity, you be very particular and do work towards this. When you are writing your exam paper, You write, first of all, in a manner that is completely legible. That means it is very easily readable. Don't compromise on these things. Whatever you know less or you know more, doesn't matter. Whatever you know, whatever you are writing, the first thing that you focus on is writing legibly. Don't write in a manner that is very difficult to read. It is almost, because see, many scripts that we go through, we find difficult to read. Almost at times it happens that if you are able to read a word or a sentence, is something like an achievement. Yes, I have done it. That should not be the case, because it creates difficulty for an evaluator. That is sort of an irritation. Reading easily, able to read easily, it is very important, because the less pressure, less difficulty you put on the evaluator, better it is. You're going to have a better impression. The first thing that you have to keep in mind under clarity is writing legibly, legible writing. You should write clearly. It should be clearly readable. The second thing that you should keep in mind, you should write your answers. That means in that, use words, use sentences, you create paragraphs. Those are clear in expression. That means don't try to confuse the examiner, or don't you yourself remain confused. When you are writing, even if the ideas are jumbled up in your mind, try to compose it. Whatever you know, don't think, if I write everything that is there in my mind in whatever form, I'm going to get good marks. No, examiner will always love an answer paper where the meaning is coming out with clarity, with simplicity. So another thing that you have to maintain is the simple and clear presentation. Simple and clear presentation. Simple is very important, because simple doesn't mean simplistic. I go, I see it. No. It is simple. That means good English, whereby you don't require a very extraordinary vocabulary. At the same time, you are presenting your ideas with ample clarity. The expression should be seamless. That is what is simple and clear presentation. The one who have understood nicely will be able to present simply. Otherwise, the presentation becomes chaotic. So you have to avoid chaotic presentation. The presentation should be simple and clear presentation. But having said so, here, when I say simple, that does not mean that you compromise with typical terms, concepts, or phrases. You are free to use. It will include typical concepts or phrases, some attractive terms or some theoretical terms. You are very much free. It being an academic subject, there are terms, those are typical. There are phrases, those are typical. There are theoretical terms are there. So there is no limitation, and there is no restriction on using those terms or concepts. When you say simple, the presentation should be simple, and at the same time, those terms, those concepts should be presented in a manner that the expression that you are making is very clear. That is what is simple and clear presentation. The third thing that we will refer here would be the third important aspect as far as the clarity is concerned is, see, within the answers, do not write anything. For example, do not include any example, any cases, any reference to any theory that is not well connected or well explained. So when you write any, you are introducing any concept, you are introducing any theory, the name of a theorist or a theory itself, or you are including any case or you are including an example, it should be, you may not use a lot of words or sentences. It should be presented with some explanation and correlation to your core theme in the answer. So while actually writing cases or examples or let's say theories or concepts, all this should be always correlated adequately to the core theme of the answer. So these are the three important things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to clarity. It should be legible, it should be simple and clear presentation, and at the same time, while dealing with cases, examples, theories and concepts, they should be adequately explained and correlated to the core theme of the answer. Simply do not throw these names or cases and all these things randomly. Don't do this. This is the three aspects that you have to keep in mind. Now the next part is the content. See, most of the time while writing answer, we generally focus on only one aspect, content. But this is not, this is not what is the whole of answer writing. As I would say, it is only a part of the answer writing where the other important component is clarity, coherence and completeness. When you refer to the content, see here the answer should be written in a manner that it should include within it adequate fact as well as analysis addressing to the question. So here by content, I am simply broadly referring to the answer should fully address the requirements of the questions. Whether in terms of facts and analysis, whether in terms of facts or analysis, both should be there, and all this should be taken into account. Now see, while in fact dealing with the answer, the entire content of the answer, how should it be, or moreover, one important aspect under the content that I will be dealing is the structure. The content of the answer. How should it be presented, how it should be arranged, how the content is to be arranged. So in this context, let me give you a brief outline relating to the structure of the answer. Say, all of you in your university's exam have written answers. So for a very long period of time you have been writing answers, and all of us know that we start the answer with an introduction, then we develop a body of the answer, then conclude the answer with a conclusion. Now here I will say that this strategy of writing the answer that you have developed while writing in your school days, or more particularly during these university days, on one account will have to change drastically. Another account, it has to be retained in a particular way. Why I am saying this? Because in civil service and in our optional paper or otherwise, we find questions, those nowadays are not very long questions. That means it doesn't require to write a lot of things. It's not, previously there used to be 60 markers. You can write a lot of, you can consume a lot of pages, you can write a lot under that. But nowadays we don't have, a 30 marker could be a very long question. You know, we very often have 25 markers, 20 marker is a decently sizable question, 30 marker could be considered to be a very big question. So today we don't have we can say long questions, or we do not have questions where a lot of words we can include, or a lot of sentences could be written. So that means these are certain answers where very little number of words or lines are to be consumed. But say, irrespective of this, although university style of writing where a bulky introduction, bulky conclusion, or developing elaborately the body, that is not relevant, but at the same time the structure should include introduction. But how? That I will talk. It should have a body and a conclusion. Now, if you take into account the introduction, this is very important. Every time you are writing an answer, there should be an introduction, but it is not in the same way you write a long, very long answer. Because see, when you talk about introduction, what is introduction? Introduction is you are introducing your answer to the one who is going to see it, who is going to evaluate it. So, as far as this introduction is concerned, this is your opening lines. The opening lines are going to be your introduction to the individual who is going to go through your answer paper and evaluate it. So that is why the opening lines has to be written in a manner that it communicates the evaluator two things. One, what you have understood by the question. So as far as the question is concerned, what you have understood, what is your understanding of the question. So in the opening line, you have to write those lines in a manner that examiner is able to understand, okay, this is what you have understood of the question. And at the same time, in the same opening line, another aspect has to be there within it. That is, what all you are including in your answer. Let me repeat, this is important. Only a student who is very clear in his or in her mind with regard to the topic under consideration, the question under consideration, will be able to write the introduction in this format. And at the same time, it also requires lots of practice. And this is going to, because see, a lot of answers are going to be there. Why it is important? Because a lot of answers are going to be there. Not only Normatively means it is desirable that you should write in this format, but at the same time it has also a functional, that is, it has an utility as well, with practical utility, because if you take into account the evaluator, they are going through a large number of answer scripts. One by one, they are going through large number of answer scripts. And see, most of the answer scripts, as we go through a lot of answer scripts, we witness that most of the answer scripts, they are substandard. They lack clarity. They are, on number of accounts, they are deficient. So, in the opening line, that forms an opinion, that actually gives we can say, impression to the examiner or the evaluator. So, in this particular context, it is important that in the very opening line, these two aspects has to be there. That means, since it is questions which are short questions, 10 marker, 20 marker, hardly you have to write 100 words, 120 words, 150 words or 200 words. So you can spare hardly 30 words or something around that for this portion, one line or two lines. So, but as per the question, in accordance with the question, you have to write the opening lines. That means, right from the beginning, you have to address the question. But you have to address the question in a manner that it does not appear to be too abrupt. It appears to be opening, it appears to be beginning. But in this, and in these two aspects you have to include in your line, that you write these opening lines in a manner that examiner is very clear on, one, what you have understood by the question, and second, your examiner what possibly going to see in your answer paper, what all dimensions, or in general, broadly, what is there is going to be in your answer paper. How to write this? What should be this? Maybe subsequently, when we will take up questions for discussion, I will take up I will provide my explanation on the various questions in terms of mock answers under this format. Maybe we'll get acquainted with this format of answer writing, then with ease or with much of clarity. But conceptually, moreover, as a matter of fact, you just understand you need to have an introduction, and this introduction is not a traditional introduction, rather opening lines whereby the examiner gets an impression of your understanding of the question as well as what all is going to be your answer. And once this is there, then you focus on the body. See, the body is your putting of facts, analysis, name, examples, and all this. You elaborate, you discuss, or all this is based on the task word. That is also I will taking up after this. As per the nature of the question, you develop your body. That means the entire idea that you possess on that particular question, you arrange it. That is the body. But before you actually terminate your answer, there should be conclusion. Conclusion, basically, again, it's not going to be those bulky summarization. Rather, also one or two lines, closing lines, and this one or two closing lines has to be there. It has to be there. Again, students who are good at understanding, students who have a better understanding will be able to conclude nicely. And what is this conclusion? What should be there in the conclusion? And why the conclusion is important? See, conclusion is very important for two reasons. One, finally, you're closing, giving a coherent set of ideas. You're expressing what is your answer, what is your viewpoint, what is your position. That is very important. Second, while writing the answer, as the third point I have referred, coherence. See, you might miss coherence because you are writing at a faster pace. Very little time is there. Very limited time is available with you. So you are writing at a faster pace. So it is very much possible. Every possibility is there that you might, in some case, you might be somewhat incoherent, unrelated, somewhat chaotic. So conclusion give you another opportunity to make your answer coherent. So you can present those number of facts, number of ideas, analysis, cases, or those are there in your body. But conclusion give you another opportunity to express to the examiner what exactly you have tried to write. So that is why conclusion is important. In conclusion, you write a summary without repetition. And second, you conclude with, if possible, with a futuristic note. So conclusion essentially should have these two characters. It should be a summary of whatever you have written without repeating the same line or the same sentences. It has to be very crisp, and the essence has to be there. And second, another aspect is, if at all possible, in most of the cases it is possible, you end with a futuristic note, futuristic or more positive note you end with. So this is what is the conclusion. But in addition to this, while referring to your body, as I am saying, that you have to present your answer with the facts, analysis. It should be a complete answer, and indeed the structure of the answer should be this. That should be an introduction, that should be a body, that should be a conclusion, and what should be the essence of the introduction, body and conclusion that we maintained here. But apart from this, as far as the content, another aspect I will take into account in the content itself. The another part of the content here, I would say, is the presentation. See, another aspect of the content is presentation. Why I am saying that another aspect of the content is presentation? This presentation is different from what we discussed under the clarity. This presentation is while writing your answer, while developing your content. See, few things you have to keep in mind. One, I would say that please underline. See, why it is so? See, after all, our evaluators, although they are very learned, they are going to be very learned. UPSC is going to choose individuals with due expertise, a good amount of expertise in this particular field. So they are going to be adequately learned. They are very equipped with knowledge and ability to evaluate your paper. But at the same time, they are human beings. So in that particular context, they might actually, while reading, because a lot of papers, public administration is a popular optional, so there is going to be a lot of papers to evaluate. So while reading, they might skip some important thing that you have written, one important point you have written, or important fact, or important example, or important name you have written. So very few thing in your answer that you believe to be very important, very critical, you do underline, and underline very sparingly, few, and they will say few words, few, if at all a line you have to underline, very few lines, so that your answer is not full with lines or underlines, only very few. And again, while underlining, you have to be very careful that you are underlining the right words and those are correct explanation, because see, by underlining you are attracting the attention of the evaluator. In that case, if you are underlining something that you feel is good but it actually is a wrong explanation, that means you are taking effort to invite to the examiner, okay, look, something wrong is here. So in that case, you should underline something that is very clear, at the same time correct in explanation and very sparingly underline, but do underline the important terms or the concepts or explanation that is there in your answer paper. That is for a practical reason. You should be doing this. Second is, see, in your presentation, you might be including cases and examples to enrich your content. Now, when you write cases and examples or names or some concept, references, in this, be sure, first of all, you use established names or concepts or theories or examples, cases, etc. Established names, because many a time we might have names and all these things not very well known. So it is possible that the evaluator may not be aware of those, because as I will say, the knowledge is vast. And the examiner, although very learned, they have specialization, they have own areas of specialization. They may not be aware of some of the other areas or something like that, or some examples they may not have gone through. So always, first of all, the first focus should be to use names, concept, theories, examples and cases. Those are very well established that you use. And if at all, let's say, you are using new, certain things which might be new, very rare or unique or very recent, there is no restriction on using those as well. But use that when you use, let's say, if you are using, let's say, the new or unique, something unique names or concepts or examples or cases, here first of all clarify and connect. You clarify those, connect to your existing explanation, and do that only when you have already written established. Because moment you write established names and examples and all these things, or you have written your answer by referring to some established knowledge, that gives you credibility. And once it gives you credibility, they become more acceptable to your new thing or unique thing if you are writing. And again, when you are writing this new and unique thing, you should clarify that what is that and nicely connect to the theme of the answer. So that's an important thing that you have to keep in mind, because many a time out of enthusiasm we tend to write these new things or unique things without clarifying, without correlating, without first of all establishing our credibility. That is wrong. This thing you need to be very careful. So, as a part of the content, I would emphasize on the importance of the presentation. You do underline, you do refer to the names and all these things, but your preference should be to take note of the established names, ideas, explanations. And when you refer to the unique or the new, in that case you need to actually first of all write these things, then you introduce this related to the theme that you are writing. If, let's say, established names, concepts or theories you have not written, or it is not there, but you are writing this, fine, but you have to clarify this, that why you are writing, in what context, and how it is related to your argument that you are presenting. This is important that you should be doing. So this is relating to content. See, next important aspect that we should take into account is coherence. This is critical. See, while writing, always remember, mere writing of facts or bombardment of facts, theories or lines or examples or cases are not exactly going to fetch you marks. Because there is a question being asked. You need to understand question. Somebody is asking something. What is this? What you believe about this? What you think about this? So someone has asked you a question and you have to respond to that question. That means you have to present an idea that is responding to this question, and that you will be able to do only when you present your facts, your ideas, your explanations in a manner that is coherent. That means it is not jumbled up, it is not assorted, it is not mere assembled. It is nicely combined, integrated, or harmoniously put at a single place. That is what we are referring here as coherence. Now, in order to bring about coherence, few things I would mention here. Those being, first, develop a theme. Whenever you take up a question, try to develop the theme of the question. That what is the theme? What is the essence of this question? What exactly the ultimate thing this question is asking? Whatever, you might be wrong, you might be right, whatever that might be. First of all, you develop. Why I am saying you might be right or wrong? Because you may not understand the question. And in that, addressing the question in a jumbled way, it is much dangerous. So, whatever you have understood by the question, you should work hard and try to simply develop one particular theme or two themes. Because two parts of the question might be there, three parts of the question might be there. So, develop the theme. So, first of all, when you develop the theme, it becomes easy to write the answer in a coherent manner, because while writing, you should constantly engage yourself with the theme, repeatedly reminding yourself the theme. So in that, your tendency to write in a jumbled way, in an arbitrary way, in a very chaotic way will get down. Second is lot of practice. In order to do this, you have to go for a lot of practice. In fact, for everything you need a lot of practice. But particularly for establishing coherence, you have to go for lots of practice. Practice in what form? Developing the theme and writing the answer around that theme. Collecting information, data and all these things. Writing around the answer. And again, one more aspect you can highlight here while in order to maintain the coherence. That is, this might appear to be funny, but those who will like to relate to the answer writing that you have written earlier or writing may be able to understand this fully and agree with me. That is, writing with understanding and more particularly with responsibility. Let me elaborate this point. Why I am saying writing with understanding and with responsibility. This will help you in building a coherent answer. See, many a time while we are writing our answer, we most of the time are there with a tendency. We have a tendency to simply jot down whatever comes to the mind. So we have a vague idea of what is the question. We have a basic understanding or some understanding relating to, okay, this is the answer, and whatever is coming to our mind, we keep on jotting it down. Simply our pen flows in that particular context, bringing out whatever is coming to our mind. In fact, with the feeling, first of all, that I've written, now the examiner has to read it. This is his problem. Not exactly in that sense, almost metaphorically this is what is the case. I have written my answer, now my problem is over. Second, while writing, we are not very much in control of what we are writing, in what context we are writing, simply blurting out the words, lines, sentences, facts and cases. Here I will suggest, whatever understanding you have, on a particular topic you may not have adequate understanding, you might have little understanding, or you might have better understanding. Whatever understanding you have, you collect data and information relating to that understanding, and while writing, be responsible to yourself that whatever you are writing, you yourself is able to understand that very presentation in relation to the question. That is why I am saying that you write with understanding and with responsibility. This is going to take effort. While writing, you continuously remain in a dialogic situation with you, that whatever I am writing on this topic, this is what I have understood in this question, and at the same time, this is what is making sense. You have to continuously be in dialogue, and for this again that practice has to be there, and this dialogue will automatically take place while writing. So this is coherence, and this few things I will suggest to maintain coherence in your answer. And the fourth aspect here is completeness. Now see, completeness is your answer should not be partial, inadequate, your answer should not be peripherally addressing to the question, rather it should be addressing to the question and every aspect of the question. Now here, in order to further elaborate on this point, that's what it's saying, complete. It should be very much the answer should be holistically addressing to the question. For this, what is required? 1. See, first thing that you should be taking note of is the theme of the question. Theme of the questions. So whatever the question has asked, what is the theme? What is the essence of the statement or the lines that is there? What meaning it is actually coming out with? What exactly is the meaning of that statement in the question? The very theme, the very essential focus of that question. First of all, you should be addressing to that aspect fully. Second important thing that you have to keep in mind, in the context of this question, theme of the question, in the context of the theme of the question, you have to be very careful about the second, the task word of the question. These are not unrelated, these are very much correlated, these are very much associated with each other. The task word, this is important. The task word is, while going through the question, you might actually come across comment, discuss, elaborate, illustrate, explain, analyze, evaluate, elucidate, or critically analyze. So, number of these words that you find in a question are what I am referring here, or what is generally referred to as task word. So you need to be careful about the task word. In order to present a nice answer, you need to be careful about the task word, because unless you are focusing on the task word, your answer will be incomplete. It might be partial, it might be misdirected. So as far as the answer is concerned, it should fully address to the question. So in order to fully address the question, you should focus on the theme of the question, and you have to address the theme of the question in the context of the task word. What are these task words? What all this mean? I will also elaborate. I will not try to make you understand, but this thing you have to keep in mind. In addition to this, you should, as that is also dealt in other parts, that is, whatever the facts or the concepts or even let's say theories or examples or cases, etc., whatever is relevant in the context of this question, all those you should try to include. That should be, within the word limit, you should try to actually fit in without compromising clarity and without compromising coherence. So this is what I would say. If all these things are there in the answer, I would consider that to be a good answer. And generally this is what is considered to be a good answer. I hope you have understood my presentation relating to how to write a good answer. This is the basic outline that I have provided, and the task words I would elaborate in the subsequent lecture. I will be elaborating on the various task words, the requirement of the various task words. So before that, I believe all of you have understood the presentation. If at all any doubt, let me take up.